The English Defence League, the EDL, has confirmed that it's planning to demonstrate in Rotherham against the grooming of white girls by Asian gangs. And what it says is a cover-up by South Yorkshire Police and the Social Services. The far-right group says that its static demo will be peaceful. Really? Only a few days ago, an EDL demo in Walsall ended in violent clashes and almost 30 arrests. They were recently booted out of Walthamstow, weren't they? Local leaders, it says here, have called for calm. Our man Andy Kershaw has been asking the people of Rotherham what they think about the EDL demonstration.
Well, I believe in freedom of speech. I don't believe in them being able to disrupt everyday life for people. If they're coming to cause trouble, no.
Well, I wouldn't like that at all. Different types of people that live in Rotherham actually get on quite well.
There's going to be trouble, isn't there? Definitely.
Don't need it.
I think there's enough tension here without anything else.
I was going to say people can be angry with lots of things, issues, and I think to bring people like that in, it's going to make it worse. I think there's a nervous tension because we're not allowed to speak our minds anymore, are we? We've got to think of political correctness.
I would imagine that this sort of thing will incite trouble. I think also you'll get people coming from a roundabout as well looking for it, I'm afraid.
Do you think the EDL coming here will actually make any difference?
Yeah, it'll wake them up to it, won't it?
It should be the same for everybody, but peacefully, not in any inflammatory way. It is supposedly a free country, but also the freedom of people to know that their youngsters are safe as well. So it's a difficult subject.
Well, listening to that is Paul Scarrett. He's the Joint Regional Secretary in Yorkshire and the Humber of Unite Against Fascism. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning.
What's your reaction then to the news that the EDL are planning this protest in Rotherham?
Well, I think my attitude is that the EDL's involvement is cynical and opportunistic, that their motivation is racism, hatred, division and scapegoating, and they're just going to arrive in Rotherham like they do in every other town, hoping to provoke division and then leave without a care for the damage they cause.
So what's your plan?
Our plan is to gather on the day, to have a peaceful multicultural celebration with speeches and music, but to show that the overwhelming majority of people of Rotherham reject scapegoating, reject racism and reject fascism.
The fact is, you being there is going to pretty much make sure it's not going to be peaceful, isn't it? You're there really to provoke the EDL.
No, that's not why we're there. We're there to have a peaceful multicultural celebration, and I think on the day it's important that the people of Rotherham, like you spoke to previously in the item, are able to voice their opposition to people coming to disrupt and divide their town and scapegoat communities. I think the reality across the country is where there have been peaceful celebrations of multicultural society, when the EDL have come to town, it brings people together and shows that unity. Because I think the other thing...
That's not true, is it? That's not true. That's not true. You are coming to bully them. I mean, it happened in Walthamstow. They brought 200 people. You brought 4,000 people. You bullied them and you shouted down their right to free speech.
Well, I think what we need to look at is what their real agenda is. Their real agenda is to scapegoat people and divide communities. In Walthamstow...
So you're happy to deny them their right to free speech?
Well, what I was going to go on to say was, in Walthamstow, as you said, there were 4,000 people. It's not about free speech. I think we have to learn our lessons of history. Do we allow again, as happened in the 30s, where Jews were the target of fascists and racists, to be able to target people and pick on those people and then move on to everybody else one by one? Or do we say that towns need to unite and say we will not allow people to divide us, we will not allow people to use racism and scapegoating to terrorise communities?
Some people would say that getting together and denying people free speech is just another form of fascism, and that you're practising it.
Well, I think there may be, some people say that. I don't think that's what the majority of people think. I think the situation is that people are coming to Rotherham, as they do to other towns, to provoke conflict. Society and communities have to get together to show that they're not prepared to accept that.
But you know what, Paul? I think most of Rotherham would just ignore them. The fact that you're going to be there is going to provide the conflict.
Well, I think the lesson is, Toby, unfortunately, is when such people come into communities and cause conflict and division, it doesn't just happen on the day. They create that tension deliberately to provoke that. And it's important that people from all walks of life gather together and say, we will stand united. We have a town or a city. We will deal with our issues, but we will not allow racism and scapegoating to come in and divide us. And if people don't do that, these people then have a free say on the day to get across their point of view. And I think, as the previous item made clear, even in Walsall, it degenerated into violence. not with regard to the people peacefully celebrating Warsaw's multicultural society, but it degenerated with the EDL fighting amongst themselves with the police.
But I just wondered that by you saying that you can enforce your views on them, I wonder what makes you any different from them.
Well, we're not about enforcing.
Well, let me tell you, Paul. About 4 years ago, you probably remember this. I interviewed Nick Griffin on BBC Radio Sheffield. All I did was interview him, and the complaints came in from UAF, 50 complaints that we'd interviewed him. That then stirred up into an internet hate campaign. That's then started into hate mail here, threats against my family, and dog mess thrown at my house. You're just as big a bunch of thugs as anybody else, aren't you?
Well, I think what you're talking about is whether people decide to do...
The UAF campaign led to threats against my kids.
Well, that's not... I don't agree with making that connection, Toby, and I'm not sure why you...
Well, it was signed UAF.
Yeah, I'm surprised that you're wanting to make that connection. I think we need to look at what the core issue is here. Are we saying that it's okay for fascist and racist groups to come to cities to stir up violence and conflict and to stir up racism and divide communities and then walk away and leave a load of damage behind?
No, what I'm asking you is why your brand of thuggery is any better than their brand of thuggery.
Well, again, I don't think we've got a brand of thuggery. I think if you look at what we've been doing in Yorkshire and in other towns and cities, we gather people together peacefully on the day from all walks of life, and I'm surprised that you're denying the right of those people to gather.
I'm not. I'm just wondering about the peaceful celebration of multiculturalism that ended up in me getting dog mess chucked to my house.
Well, I don't see the connection between the two. I think whether some people and individuals decided to do their own thing, for that we do not encourage people to do that. We're quite explicit about that, and you won't find any connection between us.
Well, it's all perfectly on record here, and that was purely because I interviewed you, not the content. Purely because I interviewed Nick Griffin, and it was 50 complaints.
To that negatively, Toby, that's a separate matter. We're not talking about that today. What we're talking about is it acceptable that people should go and terrorise communities, target Muslims, divide communities and bring violence to towns and cities across this country? I think if we don't speak out against that, those people have a free rein to be able to go and do those things. I don't think you would agree with that, and I don't think most people in this city and most people in Rotherham and Sheffield and South Yorkshire agree with people being able to terrorise communities.
We shall put it to the people of Rotherham, and I shall also put it to Tommy Robinson later on. Thank you very much indeed, Paul. Well, listening to that is Tommy Robinson, a spokesperson for the English Defence League. Good morning, Tommy.
Good morning.
Why are you coming to Rotherham?
Because this is not a national demonstration, it's a local demonstration for local people. We're coming to highlight our disgust at a two-tier system, our disgust at a cover-up, the fact that everyone's been walking on eggshells for 15 years through fear of being called a racist. Now, not just walking on eggshells, but it's now seen our police forces, our council leaders and our Islamic leaders facilitating the rape of our youth. And that's it. And if we reverse the roles and imagine that in Rotherham, 50 Muslim children had been raped.
Why are you introducing religion into this, Tommy? Nobody else has introduced religion before.
I'll tell you why I am, because 3% of this country is Muslim, and 87% of the grooming convictions are Muslim.
No, they're not. They're no more Muslim than I'm Christian. The fact that I was Christian doesn't mean I'm Christian. People who commit these kind of crimes are not religious men. You know that. You're just hiding behind your rhetoric because you don't like brown people.
Well, mate, my goddaughter's brown, and my niece are brown. So that's just that.
Yeah, some of my best friends are black as well, Tommy. What's the point of that? You're hiding behind religion here, whereas actually what you've got is just a bunch of thugs who want to come up for a scrap on a Saturday afternoon, isn't it?
You're saying hiding behind religion. You don't believe this is religiously motivated. We do. The reason why we do is because the Prophet Muhammad married a 6-year-old child and had sex with her when she was 9. Now,
you believe that, do you? That's the fact, is it, Tommy?
Sahih Bukhari and Sahih Muslim, two of the biggest hadith collectors in the Islamic world, 2 out of the 5, yeah, both state that she was 6 years old and she was 9 when he had sex with her. That's why there is no...
OK, well, you believe that. That's great. Now, listen, the whole of Rotherham knows about this problem. Rotherham's trying to deal with it itself. Why are you coming up? What have you got to do with it?
Because whose daughters and sisters do you think they are?
Not yours. Why are you coming up? Why doesn't Rotherham deal with its own problems? They're not your problem.
Actually, I'm not coming up. It's a local issue, which is what I'm trying to tell you. And it's local people whose daughters they are that have joined our organisation, that know them girls. And what this is, there's 50 kids in Rotherham, 50 kids in Rochdale, 100 kids in Blackpool, 50 kids in Derby, 60 kids in Oxford. This is an epidemic. And if you want to pretend it's not religiously motivated, motivated and it's not racially motivated, then you of course it's not. So why are 87% of them Pakistani men? Why is that?
Pakistan is not a religion, Tommy.
I'm asking. Okay, you answer why 87% of them are Pakistani men and only 3% of the country is Pakistani. You give me one explanation as to why that can be, and why are they not raping Muslim kids?
That's a question. I can't give you that explanation because
you've got no argument.
And neither can a bunch of football thugs in Rotherham on a Saturday afternoon.
But why are we football thugs? Why are we football thugs?
Well, because you are now.
No, but you can't just stereotype.
Hang on a minute. But talk to me about what's happening with the EDL at the minute. You were down in Walthamstow just recently, weren't you? The UAF turned up like they're going to a week on Sunday. They ran you out of town. You're just there. Being there provokes problems, doesn't it?
If it's anything to show off that people are getting run out of town.
No, it's not.
No, okay. Well, we went down to Walthamstow. We were attacked with bricks, bottles. There was knives confiscated off the UAF. And when we say unite against fascism, they are fascists. They're trying to stop people's freedom of speech. Why is it okay for Islamic organisations to march across this country whenever they want? We don't come out and confront them. We don't come out and oppose them. Even the other week, there was 3,000 Muslims in Bradford protesting over a cartoon. We don't come out and confront them. We let them have their protest. Now, all we're saying is people's daughters have been raped. Young girls have been raped. It's been facilitated by local social services. It's been facilitated by the police. If this had happened to Muslim children, the whole country would be on fire. And everyone would be up in arms screaming about the racist white men that have raped these children. Now, the fact is, when you think you can't get worse than a paedophile, you get a racist paedophile. And that's what this is. And it's happening in Rotherham.
Well, I mean, to be fair, we do know, don't we, that the biggest ethnic group for paedophiles in the country is white men.
Well, you'd expect it because the biggest ethnic group in this country is white men.
Right.
But we do know that the biggest group in grooming, which is hanging around outside school gates in BMWs, plying young girls with vodka and passing them around their community, is Muslim Pakistani men.
Nope.
Not 87%.
No, we don't. Again, no, we don't. We know it's Pakistani men. These are not men of religion. Now, for a long time, you said that you're protesting against Islam. It's not true, is it? You're protesting and you're fighting against Pakistanis.
No, not all. I'm saying they're Pakistani Muslim. You can deny they're not. And I'm saying the link between all of this...
How is this a religious crime? How is this a religiously motivated crime, Tommy? It's not.
I'll tell you how it is, because in the Quran it states that it's okay for Muslims in non-Muslim lands, like here, to take anything they wish by their right hand. Their right hand being the arm of the sword.
Yeah, it tells me in the Bible, Tommy, if somebody cuts me out, I can do that to them. I'm not going to do it. I don't believe a 2,000-year-old book.
But that's in the Old Testament.
I beg your pardon. I didn't think we were going to talk scripture. You know you're talking rubbish. This is not about religion, it's about race.
What this is about race then. So you give me the explanation as to why 87% of grooming cases are Pakistani Muslim men. And if everyone wants to hide away from the fact and be scared to identify the fact,
far from it. Far from it. We spoke about it. We spoke about it all last week on the radio, Tommy. Far from it. Every day we spoke about it. They're Pakistanis. This is not a religious issue.
It is a religious issue.
Okay.
They're not Pakistani Christians, are they? They're not Pakistani Christians.
No, they're not Pakistani spacemen either. They're Pakistanis.
Pakistani Muslims. And they're not just Pakistani. If you look across the country...
Are you a Christian, Tommy?
Am I Christian? Yeah, I am.
So, you've been to prison for fighting. Does that mean that you've been to prison for fighting as a Christian, or because you've been to prison for fighting because you like fighting?
No, actually, it's got nothing to do with what I went to. I went to in 2001 when I was 19 years old.
Yeah, but was it because you were a Christian, or was it because you like fighting?
No, if I was running around doing it in gangs of Christians and using it...
Well, you are doing it. I mean, that's what you're saying. You're obviously a Christian. You go to church every week, and you like fighting, which is important there. Is it your religion or the fact that you like fighting?
The court cases, it has come out in the court cases, like Rochdale, where the man said, this is okay, because in my country, this is okay. It is okay.
Well, he's wrong.
No, it's not wrong, is he? Because in every Islamic country, every single one in the world, there is no age for sex. It is okay. That's why under Sharia law, which we've seen in this country now in newspaper articles and Daily Mail undercover investigations, we've got 11-year-old children being married off. Now, what these men are doing in their head is not wrong.
Talk to me about Rotherham. Talk to me about Rotherham. Then they're expecting apparently 200 to 250 people from across the north. There's going to be fights, aren't there? We know that Rotherham has got a home match that day. We know that the shoppers of Rotherham are worried about it. We know the UAF are coming. What is the point? Do you think that you people are going to be the ones to solve our problem? problems, or would we be better served solving the problems as a community?
I'll tell you what the point is. The point is, because when you're angry and frustrated in a democracy, yeah, then you go and you protest on the street. You don't blow up a train, you don't blow up a bus, you don't try and blow up a football stadium, you don't try and blow up an aeroplane. You protest on a street. That is a democratic right. It's freedom of assembly. Now, that is what Britain holds strong. Now, that is why people who are really angry and really frustrated, we're trying to show them the right route. And the right route is to come to Rotherham and protest and give speeches.
Thank you very much.